What feeling did you get from the Pirellis compared to other tire manufacturers that you have raced on at the same track and the same series?
I think, as many people say, with the Pirellis, in GP3 and GP2 and F1, it was a difficult tire, difficult to find the peak, difficult to feel the grip, and some characteristics that are very different to control. I think I have mixed feeling of that. In a junior championship, I think it's not supposed to be about finding a peak that is this big. I think you should just have a tire that's easy to understand and works for everyone. For example, in Formula E, you have a very easy tire to understand, even if it's degrading and dropping. Everyone, I think it's very easy for everyone to understand what to do with it. And it was a much harder tire to understand compared to the Yokohama that we have in the previous years. But in the end of the day, it's the same for everyone. If you have a new tire, we all have to adapt to it, and that's always been part of motorsport for forever. So it was maybe next time we do a better job.
Anything outside this peak, this performance peak, would you describe as funny?
Sorry, again?
Any technical description outside this peak that you described the Pirelli has, would you describe as funny and unpredictable?
Do you fancy the challenge?
Yeah, I always like the challenge. I think it's funnier when the challenge is about driving the actual car, and that what you do when you're pushing is rewarding. I don't think you have some series where maybe the way you prepare the tire or something like that makes a huge impact on the tire performance on your lap, and I think that's not really what racing is about. Okay, there will always be a technical side of everything we do, since it's a material sport, but I think in the end it's more fun when the reward comes from what you actually do with your hands when you're out pushing.
Talking about more street circuits, what will be also the keys to that pole lap at Marrakech? How do you remember that feat in Formula E?
The qualifying in Formula E is very, very different from other qualifyings, because you have during the whole weekend you actually only have 200 kilowatt laps before you reach qualifying, and then when you come into qualifying you have only one shot to make it to the Super Pole, which is the top 5. And that lap is more or less like any other series. You have one lap, you need to nail everything, you can attack hard, you need to push. And then when you proceed to the Super Pole, it's very different, because the tires are already, the peak is already gone, and the tires are still very hot since you just did that lap. And then you need to go out on the same tires again and do one lap. And I think the key there is to be a bit less aggressive. You need to do just what the tire can do and not more, because then you start to slide around a lot, and it costs you a lot of lap time, as we see many times in Formula E. And it's quite cool, because the first lap you drive like very aggressively, and the Super Pole lap I just took it very easy, or not easy, but I was very smooth and tried to not slide the tire, and in the end it worked out. So it was a cool challenge like that.
And now that we've spoken a bit about the track, should we say non-permanent circuits, how do you face a challenge like driving around Monza, for instance, a high-speed permanent racetrack?
It's I really like any kind of circuits that brings a challenge to the driver. I think Monza is for sure one of them. You have a very, very high straight line speeds and high brakings. And if a driver is good in braking, it's normally a big part of what's important for a driver in motorsport. And Monza is definitely one of those difficult tracks to make a good lap. I think I'm always a fan of the tracks that have a bit more, let's say, a bit more old school, like Monza, Spa, Zandvoort, Suzuka. I really don't like the new circuits that has arrived in the past years. For example, Abu Dhabi, which I driven once, and to be honest, I think if we continue to do tracks like that, you take away all the joy in what's really racing. But it's very different. And for example, Marrakesh was a little bit similar to that. It's very flat. You have runoffs and so on. But you need to be good on both. I find myself always to be normally better on challenging circuits like street circuits, and for example, Zandvoort is probably my favorite circuit when it comes to non-street circuits. But in the end of the day, you need to accept it, and you need to be quick everywhere.
Talking about old school, you have just mentioned Stefan Johansson, a man very opinionated. What's like to work with him?
I mean, me and Stefan, we work only on the, let's say, he's my manager. He's helping me with my decisions, negotiations, and so on. And I think our opinions doesn't necessarily have to be the same, but I do share some opinions with him, and some of them I don't share, but he doesn't really go out on the actual work we have together. So
we enjoy reading a lot about his comments, because he's a very strong opinion, which is usually based on facts and his experience. He's very outspoken, and I think he really says what many of us think about what's happening around in motorsport in general. He's never afraid to speak his mind.
Exactly. All the guys that have been in motorsport since the beginning, let's say, or since the 70s or 80s, they know what it was like back then. They know what it is like now because they're still involved, and obviously many of them are not happy with the way things are going, which is understandable. I like to be, I always try to see the positives, and I try always to encourage people to work in a good direction. And I think sometimes maybe we have a bit too much negative media around, especially F1 the latest years, and it sort of starts to eating itself up because it becomes a negative cloud around everything, and in the end no one is happy. So I think it's important to understand that things go forward, things change. Maybe economy is getting worse, people are getting less interested in motorsport, or we have to think in new technology and so on. It's always a realistic side of it, and we need to find a way to work with it and not try to do what we did in 30 years ago, because that will never work these days anyways. We don't, there's no answer for anything. There's no magic cure for the situation we have, but I'm sure that the positive solutions are always the good ones and not the negative ones.
Now that you've mentioned Formula One, your cell phone rings at this moment and it's Toto Wolff and says, "Felix, are you ready to take the vacancy that we have?"
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been clear that I feel ready for such for driving in Formula One. I think at the moment half of the field in Formula One are people that I raced against, and I mean, I'm not saying that I'm better than any of them, but I'm probably not far away or on the same level. Anyways, I think there are people that are in a better position than me when it comes to that particular seat that you were speaking about. So I'm not really expecting anyone to call me about that one. But anyways, I'm always keeping my eyes open for an opportunity in F1. I think I'm pushing more towards that than I ever did before. A couple of years ago in my career, I was sort of not looking at Formula One because I didn't see a really realistic chance to go there. But I think things actually change, and even if I'm getting older, I think my chances are increasing to go to Formula one day, and I haven't given up, and I'm pushing every day for that to happen. So we just have to continue delivering, and maybe one day soon the chance will be there.
Do you feel that having a budget has become something complementary for progressing in the career of a racing driver?
Wait, tell me a question again.
Yes, do you feel that getting a budget to race has become complementary for progressing as a racing driver and finding a seat?
No. I think sometimes the public eye have a little bit the wrong information when it comes to pay drivers, let's say. The sort of thing that we see is that someone comes with a bag of money and they race in a team, and it's never really as simple as that. Luckily, it's not like that. I think behind the scenes, there's always more to it. There's other things that makes people drive in F1. They certainly did show that they are capable in different ways than just bringing money. And then I think there's always interests around drivers. There's maybe a political interest or business interest behind, and I think that's the way it's always been. We know that, for example, Fernando Alonso, he introduced Santander to F1, and no one calls Fernando a pay driver. And I think the same with many drivers. They have taken companies with them, even if they still are being paid. And in the end, every driver in F1 are getting paid because they probably get some percentage of the sponsors they are bringing. So, yeah, I think the word that we call pay driver is a little bit misunderstood.
Anyway, do you feel ready to knock on sponsors' doors if you find it necessary?
Yeah, for sure. As I say, it's always been part of the game. I think if I would feel that I have a shot at F1 and I would be in contact with the team, and it's missing 2 million euros, I'm sure I can make a push and find that money. I have a good support from Sweden. I have many people here pushing for me, and I don't see it impossible. But I think first of all, the chance needs to be there. It needs to make sense, and you cannot just go out looking for money and then knocking on teams' doors. I think it has to be the opposite. You have to deserve the chance, and then you can really start working for it. But yeah, I would be ready to do that.
What are your prospects for next year? What are you working on for 2017?
As you know, I will continue in Formula E. We did 2 races so far, and I'm P4 in the championship, so that will be a focus. And then I'm currently staying with Mercedes in their family, and we don't know yet what I will do, but I think we will know in a couple of weeks.